would be so kind. Welcome, everyone, or first time in a long time. Let's get this Finance Committee meeting underway. Monday, April 22nd, 2024 at 7 p.m. Pursuant to Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2020, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency and the March 31st, 2025 extension granted by Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting for the town of Bridgewater will be fully remote and accessible to the public through remote participation to the greatest extent possible. No in-person attendance is permitted. Citizens who wish to tune into the meeting may do so via Zoom. So we've already gotten past the reading of the statement there and the call to order. So let's start off with some of the tiny formalities here. Approval of meeting minutes. We had a couple of sets, didn't we, Josh?
Yep.
All right. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
Yes.
If there are no objections or edits to be made, would I hear a motion from anybody?
I'll make a
Motion to approve.
I'll
Second.
second.
Motion made
Either
by
one.
Lee, second by Julie. Josh, if you could take the roll call.
MJ,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Rig,
I wasn't at the last meeting, so I will abstain from the from approving.
right. Steve,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Jim. Thank you. The motion was approved.
Excellent. Let's move on to item C, public comment. If we have anybody in the meeting this evening from the public, please indicate your name and address for the public record so we can get everything documented here for our meeting minutes.
I'm not seeing anyone.
All right, no one is here, so we will close public comment. Let's move on to item D, old business. So the first item we're going to talk about is order O-FY24-027, fiscal year 2025 water and sewer rates. Now, this is an item that we have sort of held off on the last few weeks to try to tackle, but thankfully we have everybody here tonight as much as we can, and hopefully we can try to consider this. So, as we are most aware, we have the proposal before us that the water rates are going to increase by a certain amount. They are illustrated on the order that's in our information packet. And Josh, were we supposed to have anybody from the Budget and Finance Subcommittee here tonight?
Not that I was aware of.
Okay. So tonight then was probably likely us taking a final vote on it or a final discussion?
Yeah, final vote.
Okay. All right. So I figure it this way, we do have Lori Guarini here as our guest tonight. If there are questions or concerns or items of germane conversation to this item before we take a final vote on it that need to be expressed, I would say if there's any questions for Lori, please indicate so through the chair to Ms. Guarini.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Chair, I'm sorry. Azu is here as well, the DPW director. So if anyone had any specific questions, he's been available the last 3 or 4 meetings. So if anybody has any more questions regarding the rates, he's been gracious to attend the last couple of meetings that we didn't have a quorum. So he's here for availability. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, unfortunately, for some reason, I'm not able to see the gallery, as it were, of folks that are here. It's only limiting me to 3 screens, so it's good to know that Azu is here. So if folks have any questions, both for Lori or for Azu, I would say let's have that conversation this evening, and then we'll do our vote that we need to do.
You, Madam Chair, I do have a question. Or
Okay.
Julie, raise your hand. Do you want to go first?
Julie, do you want to go
No,
first?
I don't have a question. I just want to say that I attended 2 of the meetings, I believe, at least one with the
town council and yourself, the budget sub, and then another one when we didn't have a quorum. So I'm pretty familiar with this, so I know how I want to vote. Not an expert by far. I just, correct me if I'm wrong, someone, anyone. I believe that, we have to pay for this one way or another. So if we don't vote on it, it means it has to come from somewhere else, like another account. If it's not the taxpayers, then it's the budget itself. Is that true or false? I don't know if Laurie can answer that, or if I misunderstood in the past. Because I know there was a question about the percentage of the increase, I think, was part of the problem. And thank you, Laurie, for all the backup that you provided after the initial meeting that I was at. I think that was much appreciated.
If I could answer her question, Madam Chair.
Of course.
So the enterprise funds are self-sustaining funds, which means all of the operations of the water fund are, it's just the revenues come in and the expenses go out, and anything left over goes into their retained earnings. So the same thing with the sewer fund, and we also have another fund, the transfer station fund. So those funds are all in operation, and they're self-supported by the rates, by the revenues that are collected in each of those three different funds. So the general fund, as most know, is the fund where our general operations come from property tax revenue, local aid from the state, and then various fees for services in the department. So if one of the enterprise funds fails to have enough revenue for debt service or for whatever operations, then the general fund is responsible for any of that, which means the taxpayer from the property taxes would actually be paying for that in the end. So the general fund does supplement the enterprise funds, but it's not supposed to. Otherwise, there's no real use for the enterprise fund. So just thought I'd share that back to you, Julie.
Thank you.
And I would like to make note, I do see on the attendees list now, the chair of the committee has entered the meeting. Did Nate,
No,
Josh.
you know what? Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Yeah, you know what? I couldn't log in. I have to log in through my phone here.
No worries.
So at this point, I'm looking at, I can't seem to log in through my laptop. I'm having issues with the Zoom connection. Since you have better access, I'll let you continue running the meeting. Does that
Alrighty.
sound good?
Yep,
Alright.
I'm okay with that, Mr. Chairman.
All right, and if I could just make a comment to the committee too. We have had this conversation a couple of times. Well, I shouldn't say a couple of times. Over the years, this has come up quite a bit. It is something, it's one of those unfunded mandates that has to be taken care of. It had been put aside for a long time. And I remember that from our last conversation with the budget subcommittee, when we were listening to them debate, I think we're looking at what, a $35 per quarter increase for the average sewer user.
Correct.
Now, one thing that was, I guess, this is just phase one. We are looking at phase 2 and phase 3 in the future, for a sewer system. That was a concern that was brought up from the budget subcommittee.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the notes I have in front of me from that last conversation that we heard. And I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. I do see Rig's hand is up. Did you have something to add, Rig?
I do, but I believe Catherine's hand was up before mine.
Okay. Alright. Miss Lindstrom, do you have something?
No, I'm sorry. I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
I will return
think
back to Jim, because I know he had his hand up. He actually raised it roughly the same time Julie did, and he yielded his time back to Julie. So Jim, did you have any questions?
You're
Jim?
on mute.
Don't know if his connection's timing out or not.
There it goes.
Yeah, and my only questions, I understand the $35 increase in projects. My question is more, I can hear myself. Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
We can hear you, Jim. Yeah, we
Uh,
have seen some lousy tonight.
Okay. My only question is, are there longer term adoption in the town to help offset? Because if it's the same population continuing to use the sewers long term, or there isn't an expansion, I just see it's inevitable that the same number of people in theory will continue to have to pay increasing sewer rates to pay for, which makes sense, right? Sewer users are paying for sewer services, but is there an incentive plan or long-term plan to increase the number of system users? And that may not be a question for this forum, but just something I
Yeah.
wanted to
Yes,
ask.
Azu can answer that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, if I may answer that. It's excuse me, it's a very delicate balance right now. And here's the reason. The DEP sets the limit on our discharge. As you know, we have a treatment plant on Morris Ave, and that is actually undergoing upgrade right now. And as Madam Chair alluded, I believe we have basically unfunded mandates. The current upgrade that we are doing has to do with the requirement for nitrogen removal. And then the second phase will be phosphorus removal because of the impairment of Taunton River. And Taunton River is part of the major navigable waterways of the United States. And so in all that, while we are required to do those upgrades, we have not received approval for discharge limit. So until we have that approval, it's almost like you're going to be rationing your permit. And we are hoping that we will see increase in the commercial and industrial use base for the simple reason that those uses don't put too much demand on the town infrastructure, and yet our return on the investment with those users are fairly substantial. So right now we have the equivalent, if you will, of if I were to say, hey, let's max out our capacity, although the EPA will not allow that. They like you to stay just below the threshold because of the fact that you might have inflow and infiltration of the groundwater and runoff, surface runoff into your system. So you're treating based on volume. So we are looking at really rationing our permits for new connections for the sewer, because we also have to deal with what we call needs areas. We have to submit what is called a comprehensive wastewater management plan for approval. And that comprehensive wastewater management plan looks at what is our plan for addressing areas such as Atkinson Drive, down that area by South Street, similar to what we did up in the North Street area where you have College Road, Colonial Post Road, where the failure of a septic system, you couldn't upgrade the septic system by putting in new septic system because of the poor permeability of the soils in those areas. So we have to factor those areas in dishing out, if you will, any permits for tie-in. So DEP and EPA will have to look at those and see that we are managing our resources properly. The same goes with the water supply. Even though we are now treating for nitrate and in the near future, we will have to treat for PFAS. That is mandates that we are required, and yet we are not allowed to exceed our withdrawal of our limits. So those are the kind of things that we're working on. So that is a convoluted and circuitous way of answering the question that yes, we have opportunity to increase users, but I'm not gonna sit here, if you will, and paint a glossy and rosy portrait for this committee. So I think right now it's pay as you go. So the burden appears to be higher with the number of people that are on sewer. As you know, it's only about 35% of the town that is sewered, in addition to Bridgewater State University. So the burden is very much, you don't have as much base as you have with your water supply to share that burden. But we are looking for creative ways, including exploring the possibility of working with the state division of capital asset management to perhaps provide in their treatment facility down the hospital and the prison, potentially the college tying in to their system, thereby reducing the load and the demand on our sewer system. So there's a plethora of opportunities that we have, albeit none of them provides immediate relief. And when I say immediate relief, I'm saying past 5 years hence. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but that's where we are.
I do have a question myself, and I can't recall if we actually may have spoken about this in the last couple of meetings, but knowing that the cost is going to be a bit steep, and by a bit, I'm just being, it's relative at that regard. Trying to be creative on addressing this issue itself. Are there any programs that we're aware of from the federal government, either from the US EPA or from DEP, to possibly fund any of this, or at least subsidize it with potentially grants or additional funding from other sources that we could use to address the needs and capital improvements that we're going to have to do for our sewer system? I will certainly understand where folks in town would be coming from with, potential anger over this, over the increases themselves, recognizing that they are unfortunately inevitable. I myself would be preferential to softening the blow if we can get funding from other sources that would help at least bulwark some of the increases that we're going to see coming in the near term if these are put into place.
That is Madam Chair, that's actually a very valid question / comment. And as you may know, I'm not quite sure if this assuages any concerns or mitigates the issue. However, I just want to show you that I would love to see these funding opportunities available, and we're exploring every facet, including the infrastructure of a bill that was passed by Congress, and we're still waiting for that money to trickle down. I do know that currently, even though it's not a total loan forgiveness, there's a combination of loan forgiveness as well as 0% funding available through the SRF, what they call the State Revolving Fund, available. And Laurie can probably shed more light in terms of the financing. I am a technical guy. I worry about how we move the water and sewer. I didn't do too well in college with the accounting courses. They let me through because the professor felt bad and said, are you going to stick with engineering? I said, yes, sir. She goes, okay, I'm going to pass you. So I don't worry too much with accounting. That's 1 minute you put in the plus side, next minute it's on the negative side. That drives me crazy. But I'm also a ratepayer in town. I am on town water and town sewer. So it will be beneficial, both as a public policy and the public person that implements the regulatory requirements, but also as a resident and a citizen of the town. I'd like to see my rate as low as possible. So to that end, we are exploring and pursuing every funding source available. I can assure you of that.
I appreciate that, Aziz. Thank you so much. And I always appreciate your openness about your accounting classes. I saw Riggs' hand up.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize that I missed the last meeting or 2 meetings, but my question is, and maybe this was already addressed in previous meetings. Those that are not on town sewer, are they expected to still pay the same rate, the same increase rate, if they're not on town sewer, but they have town water? Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, so as Ms. Guerini alluded to earlier, you cannot charge people for what they done, for the services that they don't get. So to answer your question, the rate payers for water are those that are on water, town water. The rate payers for sewer are only those that have sewer. So if you do not have town sewer on your own septic system, you will see a zero bill. You're not getting any bill right now for sewer, and you will not get any increase. So your increase, if you don't have town sewer, is 100% zero.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any other additional questions from any of the members?
I don't know how to raise my hand here, Madam Chair, so I'll just speak, unfortunately. And if I can make one final point, I think that we're probably ready to try to take a vote on this. It might personally think that, but this is a tiered system. So if you do conserve, then don't flush your toilet so much. You do pay a lower rate. So I'm assuming somebody like the university who is using tons of this resource, they're going to pay the higher rate. Right, and if you're a citizen, a town taxpayer that uses less, you're gonna fall into one of the lower tiers of rates.
That is correct, and thank you for that.
Madam Chair,
You paid.
I'm sorry.
Greg, did you say something?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Go ahead, Nate.
No, I was finished. To you, Madam Chair.
Yep. I'll acknowledge Greg. It looks like he wanted to say something.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I was wondering, will there or has the town, will the town provide any alternative resources, like for example, low flow toilets for anyone who, to help town residents, especially those that are senior citizens, right? Because if their sewer increase, the sewer rate increase is going to impact them significantly. Has the town thought about perhaps, working with like a Home Depot or some type of contractor who can help with exchanging their current toilets to something that could be, that could preserve water and save water so that they're not using so much water?
That is actually a good comment slash question. Obviously, we have something on the water side. For example, we have what we call it's probably more cosmetic than tangible, but it's a plus with the rain barrels that we have been providing. And as you know, with the water quality, we have the PFAS-free water the highway facility at 151 High Street, right here in town. The same thing goes with the electric. With the when you consult the National Grid or EverSource, whichever one delivers your power, they have a state energy audit that the state provides. The state has usually leads in that front, and right now there is no program that provides for that. Because if the town were to pursue that money that you are offsetting, because that will, for example, require retrofitting our toilets, sinks, like that. Obviously, there will be a capital outlay for purchase, and then you have to have plumbers do that work. So that is a novel idea that I think we probably have to tread carefully on and do a little bit more investigation on whether that is plausible or not. So that is a good question. And I thank you for thinking of that. I haven't thought about that. I will be first to admit that, only because I don't have a model for that. But at least now that you put that bug in my ear, that is something that I can investigate and return back to you with an answer, yea or nay, but at least have an answer for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Madam Chair, can I just have some additional thoughts to Mr. Azu's comment and thought process?
No problem at all, Rig.
I guess as Mr. Azu was speaking, I started to think about maybe Mass Save. Perhaps again, this could be something that the town could take the initiative to, at least at the minimum, provide the information for town residents, especially those who are going to be impacted by this increase, right? Perhaps that information, if the town were to take the lead to have the conversation with Mass Save to identify various programs that can help, those impacted with, low flow toilets, different sink fixtures, whatever. I think at the minimum, excuse me, at the minimum, that would be, that would demonstrate that not only the town is thinking about, the impact of this increase to people, especially with inflation and everything, but the town is also thinking about, a possible solution to help, mitigate that increase. So just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. And I'm certain our colleagues here will look into that a little bit further. Hopefully we'll hear something in the near future about that. I am going to ask if anybody else has any other questions or concerns about the measure before us tonight, before I ask if anybody is looking to make a motion. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion from a member.
Motion to approve?
I hear a motion from Rig. Second, is there a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Pace. Josh, would you be so kind as to take the roll call, please?
Nate,
Being one of the 35%, I will abstain.
MJ,
Actually, should I abstain since I am also a sewer user?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm gonna be paying for it either way. I'm living in the apartment complex that's over on the western side of town here, at least one of the two ones, and I'm already paying a large amount for sewer anyway. So, full disclosure, I do everything I can to not use a lot of water. So I will. I definitely think I don't think we can necessarily abstain from it, Nate, but I will say yes.
Julie,
No.
Rig,
I would say yes. Operational cost is expensive, to operate regardless of, if it's sewer, if it's whatever, there's always an operational cost and, you know, the money has to come from somewhere. I would hope that the town will find other ways, you know, to find the cost and then reduce the rate at some point. So I would say yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
Lee,
No.
Jim,
Full transparency, my property is connected to sewer, but I vote nay.
thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, thank you, everyone. Let's move on to the next item of business here. Order O-FY 24-039, deed in lieu of foreclosure, 0 Laurel Street. What is taking place here is that the town is potentially going to take a parcel of land for a deed in lieu of foreclosure for a parcel of real estate previously owned by a Miss Catherine Marble, and more particularly described as parcel map 64. Parcel 64, map 46, further identified as 0 Laurel Street, recorded at the Registry of Deeds. And just for the explanation here, the municipality may accept a deed to a parcel subject in liens for outstanding municipal taxes or charges before or after a taking. So I can at least detail a little bit of this, and then Laurie, you can help me out with this and fill in the blanks where I may miff on it. But putting on my collector's hat here. Sometimes properties can go into tax title, and in the event that a taxpayer has a piece of land that is either of low value or they don't see any, I guess you would say, advantageousness to paying the real estate taxes on time, they may let it go into foreclosure, but before, you know, the potential of losing that parcel, they may instead elect to gift it to the town for the value of the real estate taxes thereof. And that way the town takes that parcel of land and it becomes part of open space that the town would have. In this particular instance, Laurel Street is on the other side of town from where I am. It is an open parcel of land. It does abut some wooded area as well. But getting more into the particulars of it, Laurie, if I have missed anything as it relates to the properties' financial costs, please help elucidate this for us.
You actually probably know more about all the laws than me on this instance, MJ. So, yeah, it's just the owner passed away and the estate contacted the town to see about the town taking over because they did not want the land, they didn't want to pay the bill, they just wanted to forego it. So this has been sitting in the assessor's office for a while, and so this was the next step to move ahead.
Another question, Laurie. Do we know if this is a land of low value? Because I know under Massachusetts general law, there are certain stipulations that DOR does allow a municipality to use and utilize in order to obtain or acquire a parcel of land and or to sell it. I assume that the town of Bridgewater is seeking to potentially, if we approve this here, accept the land and keep it as a parcel of open space or sell it to someone so that they can combine it into a neighboring parcel. Those are certainly situations that they can do so, but it sounds like the town's going to accept the parcel if we say yes to it tonight, and it would become part of our open space inventory. Is that correct?
Yes, it would become part of the town's possessions of land. Mhm.
All right. I do see a hand raised. Rig, do you have a question?
I do. I was curious to know, the estate, those that are handling the estate for, the unfortunate deceased, do we know if they maybe might have put it up for auction or for sale, or, you know, any additional information on that, on what the estate is, and you know, what attempt the estate has done other than to contact the town. And the reason I'm asking for this question is, you know, there seems to be a number of, you know, vacant properties that perhaps is owned by the town, and I'm sure there is, there's a plan for those vacant, lots and vacant locations. But I think that if it was made available, through an auction or through, a direct, a direct sale from the estate or those who's handling the estate, perhaps something quicker could be done with the property opposed to having it sit in, who knows when, the town might do something with it.
Laurie, before you answer that, I might be able to help you out with that answer, Rick. Oftentimes, and Laurie, you can back me up on this. Oftentimes, these types of situations with these parcels, the land is either not necessarily buildable or it has a low enough value that it wouldn't be advantageous for it to be put up to auction. Sometimes the cost alone would be more than the actual value of the property. Oftentimes, I know in my experience in other municipalities, I have seen it happen where a parcel has been offered to the town because basically the parcel of land is listed in the real estate tax system. It's a parcel of land that's literally underwater. There's absolutely no use to it other than to preserve open space. Knowing where this is, it's wooded areas, so it may be something that the family of the decedent does not necessarily want to go through the process of acquiring an auctioneer, putting it up for sale, because when a parcel is put up for sale, it needs to have a clear title. And if the property is on tax title, the right of redemption lies with the taxpayer to get it from the town itself. So case in point, let's say, for example, this parcel has a value of $3,500, but the real estate taxes alone on it may amount to like 20 to 30 grand. No one wants to pay $28,000. Let's just put it that way. No one wants to pay 28 grand for a parcel of land that has all tax problems at that point. It's more advantageous for a municipality to take control of it and keep it as an open space parcel, or at some later point to auction it off. It doesn't appear to have any tangible assets on top of it, i.e. a house or any type of dwelling. And it's a low value parcel. So that tells me that the family in this instance is likely wanting to just get rid of it because it's going to cost them more in the long run. The estate probably doesn't have enough resources available with which to offload it, as it were. So in lieu of that, giving the town the opportunity to take that parcel of land is probably a lot more advantageous than going through that entire process. And again, it could probably go through a land to low value process, at which point the town can absolutely auction it off if it so desires. That's always an option for a municipality, but in this instance, it almost acts like a gift of land to the town. Laurie, if I'm incorrect on any of that, please feel free to correct me.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, no, you're correct. I think the instance with this property, it's already been in tax title for over 10 years. So I'm looking at a report that was issued probably the beginning of this year. It was with interest and everything, it's about $150,000 owed for back taxes. So I think that is one of the main reasons why it's being opted for the deed in lieu of foreclosure, because at some point the town would have to foreclose on this, and like MJ was saying, that's an additional cost, and it has to go to land court. It has, and it still will have to go through all the state provided laws, but this is just that it's saving the state, and then it's just putting it in the town's name. And what the town will do is look at the land, see if it's of any value, and then they will talk about a resolution, but it would be foreclosed upon anyway at some point. And then that's just more taxes and interest piling up, and then more cost to the town.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Oh, was that Steve?
Yeah, it was.
All right, Mr. Pace, do you have a question?
Yeah, as the local realtor, I did a little research on this parcel.
Mhm.
And believe it or not, it's 16 acres of land over there. And it is zoned, it is residential developable land.
Mhm.
And Catherine Marble to gift this to the town, oh my, granted, the
Mhm.
value is, the assessed value's 135,000.
Right.
And probably owe more than they think it's worth. But
Right.
this property, I think, would be in demand in the public.
Right. That's probably why one of the reasons why the assessors decided to move forward with this type of taking, because it really, it's not a usual thing that the town does, I think, but in this case, it was worth it, so.
Good acquisition.
Are there any other questions from the committee?
I'll make a motion to approve, Madam Chair.
I hear a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Bean. Josh, if you'd be so kind as to take the roll call.
Nate,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Jim. Jim, sorry, I didn't hear you.
Aye. There
Thank
might
you.
be a delay.
The motion was approved.
And everybody had a chance to vote, Josh?
Yep, the motion was approved.
Alrighty, excellent, folks. Let's move on to some new business. This is gonna be order O-FY 24-040, transfer order for water capital. It's a proposal to appropriate and transfer $300,000 from water retained earnings to water capital projects fund. The explanation here is for the capital project for Great Hill Water Towers is repairs and restoration of the concrete base collar around the water tower for maintenance, as well as to stay in compliance with DEP inspections and mandates. It sounds like this is something that's sort of needed to maintain the structural integrity and ability for Great Hill Water Tower to be a usable asset by the town's water system. And the amount is $300,000. So Laurie, can you give us a little bit of a better idea of what's going on here?
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. So this was actually missed when we had the rounds of capital in the last month or so ago, when everyone approved, when we approved the general fund and the enterprise fund capital. This has been in the queue, but apparently it got left off. So, but this will fund, I guess, where the water tower is located. The DEP recently inspected the concrete on the bottom, and it was already known that the work was needed to be done. So this just got missed on the last round of capital, so thank you.
Alrighty. I do have a question regarding Great Hill Water Tower. Is Azu still in here?
I think he dropped off. That's too bad.
Alright. Because I was gonna ask is because Great Hill Water Tower has been there for a good long time. It's been there as long as I've been alive, and I'm almost 41. It's been there a lot longer than that, I think. Is the tower at risk of not being usable in the near term? Is there looking to be any type of renovation project to it at this point, or rehabilitation of it? It's just this one repair, correct?
Yeah, you're correct. So it's just the concrete base. They're gonna stabilize it. Everything is, it's in good shape. There's no reason for any alarm or anything, but this will just solidify some of the cracks on the bottom of the concrete, and so it's just gonna get it up to code.
Another question I did have, Laurie. Do we have any type of like cell tower leases on the tower itself to get
Yes.
any revenue for it? Okay, we do.
Mhm.
Is any of that going towards the water department to cover costs of maintenance and upkeep for that tower?
It's no, it's going to the general fund. I think it's about $9,000 a year.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Alright. Does anybody
I-
else have any questions?
I do have a quick question, Madam Chair. Lori,
Alrighty.
how much will we have left in the water retained earnings after transferring this 300,000?
Good question. I can get that for you if you want to take the next question. I'll look it up real quick.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Alrighty, Rig, what's your question?
This is a follow-up question to your question in terms of like cell towers. Has the town initiated conversations with with those that have a cell tower on top of this for support to help fix this, to help with repairs?
Madam Chair, through you. I don't think I'd have to get back to you on that. I don't want to answer. I wasn't prepared for the question, so I don't think the lease and the antenna on the tower has any detrimental effect as far as the capital, but I'll hold off on answering that and get you an answer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Laurie. I appreciate that.
As far as the retained earnings in the water,
Yep.
it's currently at $1.8 million. So the 300, it'll bring the balance to 1.5 million.
Okay, thank you. I mean, it sounds like something that has to be done to, just the regular maintenance for a tower that sounds like it's still in good repair overall, so.
Yeah, it's very, it's very large, so you think concrete shouldn't be that big of an expense, but for a big tower like this, it's a big repair, even though it's not a major repair to the tower itself, but it's just to keep it stable.
And I mean, it would be understandable given the fact that it's been an asset of the town for many decades. So an ounce of prevention prevents a pound of pain, as I've been told.
Agree 100%.
Does anybody have any other questions on this measure? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Mr. Knoll. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Seconded by Mr. Pace. Josh, would you be so kind?
Nate,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Steve,
aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Alrighty, now to move on to the big tamale for tonight, the budget order for the fiscal year 2025 budget, also known as Order O-FY25-001 FY25 Annual Budget. So we're starting off with a budget proposal. The grand total, if you look through the documents itself, it's a grand total of the total appropriation is $73.355 million. Looks like this first page here calls for an appropriation from the initial appropriation from other financing sources of 3.8 million. So the town will raise from levies to be 69.4 million. So I'm hoping that folks have had a chance to read through the proposal, and if they have any questions, Josh, did we have anybody email questions in? I know you had sent a message out this afternoon.
I did not get any questions.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, if I could make a quick comment also.
Mm-hmm.
Before we start discussion. Traditionally, this is the first time this committee has seen fiscal year 2025's budget and all these orders. Traditionally, we do not necessarily vote on this first evening. We'll have questions, we'll get some details. We have in the past, we have a very important meeting with the town council's budget subcommittee. And many a times, Mr. Dutton, the town manager, is there also. And that's our chance to kind of really drill down. And then it comes back to us again. And then we take our final vote on recommendation on these articles, the town council. When is the town council moving on the town budget this year?
So the public hearing is May 7th.
Hey, do we know when their vote is?
May 7th?
a
The
while.
budget and
So-
subcommittee already approved it. They met last Monday and they approved it.
Okay.
So, wait,
And I find that surprising that we're, you know, we're moving.
So they don't even need our recommendation? Sorry to cut it. Is that what you're saying?
No, no,
If they've
no, it's
already
not-
no,
voted.
no, right, Nate,
Yep.
I guess I'll speak on this at this point. I will say on behalf of my colleagues and the chair, I'm a little bit surprised that they moved ahead without our input. It's kind of a concern that usually, like Nate said, that's how the process usually works. We have an initial view of this. We start the conversation where we start talking about each of these individual lines and what they mean, and have input between town officials and ourselves to try to make an informed decision on, you know, where this is going to go for the next fiscal year. I'm really surprised the Budget and Finance Subcommittee left us out of the loop on that one, and I'm hoping it wasn't intentional, or if it was affected by our quorum issues the last few weeks. I'm hoping it's not, but if it is, it's sort of a bit jarring that we haven't been as participatory in the process as we usually are in years past, given the fact that we have that history of having the initial conversations, and this is usually the time we start having that. Was there any indication that that was the case, that they decided to move forward and approve it without any of our interaction?
That's a good question. I mean, it's new because it's the first time we're seeing it, correct? So
Yeah,
even the last two times we didn't have a quorum, this was not on the agenda.
no. In fact, the only thing that was on the agenda the last two times was actually the water sewer rates,
That's right.
and also Laurel Street when it came up the last time, but that wouldn't have been a formal business measure we could have discussed. This is actually the first time we have the budget, and like you, Nate, I am surprised, but I'm not angry, I'm disappointed.
And we have a very, very, more than a quorum, so it is very disheartening.
But can I make it, just a quick statement is, so the public hearing is on, May 7th, but, this was referred on April 9th, I think. So you guys can certainly meet as many times as you want up until the hearing, so I'll just throw that out. But yeah.
I mean,
But the
I think
purpose of our
that,
meetings is to make the recommendation to the town council that's already approved it, correct?
No, the
No,
town
that-
council didn't approve it, just the budget,
Or the
the
budget
subcommittee
subject?
did.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they wouldn't vote without your recommendation, the
Oh,
council.
all right, sorry, I misunderstood. I take it back. Apologize.
because I don't know about any other members of this committee, but I certainly would like to have the town manager in on this conversation too, as we discuss these budget items.
I
Madam
come,
Chair,
As is traditional for us to have that happen, Nate. I mean, just hearing how things actually went, I'm gobsmacked at this, really. I'm just really surprised by it, because we always have the first launch of conversation and we say, you know, we've thought about this part, you know, we want to look at, you know, is this in the capital budget for that part of the year? Are we going to have that conversation with the town manager? Can we have Mr. Dutton at our next meeting? And then we go ahead and schedule another meeting.
Yep.
And-
And my suggestion, Madam Chair, would be that, you know, we still aim for that. You know, go through these items this evening.
Mhm.
But I'm not particularly comfortable on voting on any of them, making a recommendation on any of them this evening. And we'll have to get another meeting in and invite Mr. Dutton and, you know, get more clarification.
And I'm looking at the calendar right now, Nate, and I would think before the May 7th meeting, we would have an opportunity potentially to meet on the 29th or the 30th or the 1st. I know I might not be able to attend on the 1st because there would be a planning board meeting and I'm an associate member of the board. However, I could probably talk to my chair and ask if he would let me, you know, skip out on
Yeah,
that meeting.
We could do the 29th, the 30th, or the 6th, and that would be right beforehand. So if they're doing the input, I'd be surprised if they were voting on it that evening, but whatever, that's not my bailiwick.
Mhm.
But that would be my suggestion. I mean, like I said, I'm not comfortable this evening giving, a recommendation on any of these without, a little more discussion. With more, stakeholders in this conversation.
And I think our membership is in agreement with that. I mean, Julie said the exact same thing. I'm probably going to say is that we didn't even have a chance to sit down and talk about this. And
Yeah.
it begs to be discussed.
Yeah.
We're cut off at the knees here at this point. So
Yeah, my suggestion though is maybe we just go through them and we continue each one, just because we do have some newer members, and maybe just do a brief look at each one of these orders.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And just kind of go through them, and then we'll continue them, and
yeah,
we'll set a date to meet with Mr. Dutton, and maybe the budget subcommittee, even though they voted, would like to join us.
right. And yeah, I think that would be great, because I know, we can, even if we need to, Nate, we can tag team on just sharing our knowledge and our experience on each of these orders. We can always just, I guess at this point we could take them all as a group. Josh, would that be something that we could do? We could take all of these as a group and converse on all of them? I would just have to note into the record each one that we're talking about, right?
You mean to just kind of skip jumping back and forth?
I mean, at this point, I'm more comfortable with parcelizing these things out. The budget itself is a big part, and I know the smaller ones that come after it, like the enterprise budgets and the last one, revolving funds. I know those smaller ones are usually the ones that they're pretty much straight through conversations. It's basically, if we approve the larger budget, they, by virtue of approval, those need to be approved. But since
I think the annual town budget kind of encompasses everything, so.
Yep.
Could I offer some thoughts, please, Madam
Go
Chair?
ahead, Ray. I'm sorry.
Sure thing,
Sorry.
Yeah, the reflection of this budget is only for fiscal year 25. I think it would be very helpful for all of us to have a compare, what was last year's budget, just so that way we could refresh our memory, especially given that there are new members here. So being able to see, has there been an increase from last year to this year for whatever item that is reflective of this year's budget? Is this something that could I would advocate that we should hold off the conversation, given that we don't have last year's budget to compare.
That's a good point. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
no problem, Nate.
Yeah. I think that's a good point too, Rick. So yeah, we could do that too. We could there were no initial questions that came in. We could just continue all these orders.
I did
Go ahead,
see
Nicole.
Laurie had her hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So when the budget orders were submitted on the 9th, the actual budget packets were mailed out to the council and to, I believe, your committee on April 1st. So the budget packets did have all of the individual departments. It had all of the increases. It had all, it had the budget summary, the town manager's message. So all that was sent out ahead of time. And I think when the budget orders were referred, we were under the impression, or I was under the impression, I speak for myself, that you all received the packet along with the meeting agenda. So I don't know. The budget is on the website, and again, it was submitted on the 1st of April. So there's a link on the website, but yeah, just letting you know.
I do see an email. I do have an email from the town manager email account, and Josh was copied on it. It happened back on April 5th, probably around 11:20 in the morning. Does have the operating budget and the general fund operating budget finals. So it looks like that does have the enterprise funds and the general funds. So, if folks had a chance to read through that, that is basically what we're looking at tonight.
Yeah, that really doesn't change the fact of the process here, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we don't see, like Rick said, we don't have any comparisons. Usually we do see that. Usually when we'll have the town manager here, and he will tell us why there's changes and differences and why they move things. I just feel, I don't know, the paper's kind of cold.
Yeah. Julie, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, the question is, what you were just referring to on the 5th, was that to you as the vice chair, or did we all get that? Because I'm looking for it in mine and I don't see it.
My guess is that was, since it's sent from the general mailbox of the town manager at bridgewaterma.org, and it was listed as to town manager, that tells me it was blind carbon copied. So to me, that's usually what it looks like when a blind carbon copy goes through and it's sent to other
So who
members.
am I looking, who would I be looking for from the sent? So can you tell me again who the sent was then, the
So
town manager?
The sent is town manager, and the email address it should look at it. If you're using Outlook, it would say town manager at bridgewaterma.org.
Yeah, okay, I got it. Yep.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
Right, so it's the same thing that we're looking at.
I was able to locate it, and there's nothing in here that has the
2024.
last year's budget.
Yeah. No, the budget item that the town manager would have provided to us would only be for FY25. It wouldn't have any
Right.
comparative stuff
Yeah.
to it. So we do need to have the town manager and perhaps the other parts of the finance team with us in the meeting, and I'm with Nate on that one. I would like to see that happen.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, speaking to all of you folks, the appetite is to have the conversation and go through these details and make sure that we have a clear understanding of where we've been and what we're going to try to do to go forward for the budget. So right now, I mean, I'm open to having a conversation where we at least air some of our questions. And Laurie, if you'd be willing to, even just note down some of those concerns for us. Ultimately, we're going to schedule a couple more meetings, and hopefully we'll be able to get Michael in the meeting as well. So for tonight, I think, like Nate has said, we don't take a vote on these. We have them introduced to us. We talk about them. We table them till the next meeting until we can get those folks in. And then we just then go to task on it, and then we do what we need to do to go forward so that the council can go and make their vote early next month, and we can start to conclude the budget process for FY25, and we can go in with a clean book on July 1st.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes, Mr. Pace.
Thank you. Rig, thank you. I think you're speaking directly to me when I saw the budget numbers. Being new to the council here, I have no idea what I'm looking at. I have nothing to compare it to. I don't know if it's good, bad, or indifferent. So I would benefit greatly by having some sort of comparison. For that, I thank you, Rig. Otherwise, I just would have gone with what the board would be voting for this evening.
Share that right now if you want. I mean, I have that. That's what I thought we were discussing tonight. So I apologize if everyone is saying they don't have the info, because I have the info. I can certainly talk about it.
Madam Chair, if I may, Lori, it's not that we don't have the info. It's just, it feels like the process is a little short-circuited here, I think is what we're saying. All right,
Okay.
as a committee.
It seems like it was fast tracked, and they didn't even they were started in the hallway at one place, and they walked right by our office door and then went right to the council chamber. So I get where we're getting that whole circuitousness from. So Laurie, since you are here with us tonight, and I'm greatly appreciative of the work that you've done so far, you have the data that can help us with the prior year stuff. So if you have it readily available, Laurie, to compare it against the FY25 budget proposal, I'd be okay with having Josh let you share screen with us, and we can maybe just start talking about those items.
Sure. And in the packet too, each individual department has 24 and then 25. So there is in the packet, everything has a comparison to it. If Josh lets me share the screen, I can at least share the total for you.
Right, the packet on the fifth.
Well, yeah, the budget packet. Josh, can you let me share?
You should be able to. And,
Okay.
and Julie,
it.
sorry, I just muted you. I was getting some feedback, so you should be okay to unmute now.
So can everyone see this packet? So the packet I'm talking about too is what's this budget packet?
You're, I don't know if it's just mine, but I don't see anything.
Oh, you don't see it?
I don't see it
Oh.
yet. No.
Sorry. There we go. Apologize. So this is the budget packet that's on the website that everyone should have received. It's about I don't know how many pages it is. It's about 50, 60 pages. In each it has a summary of the resolution. It has all the departments, benefits, here's the resolution of the council, the objectives of the town manager. Also has spending per capita, through all the excuse me, all the information that we provided. This was our sources and uses that we are projecting that it's a source of the revenues that's going to support the budget based on the levy growth of 2.5%. Our local receipts as estimated by the government, the town's local receipts based on what we're projecting, which pretty much is level from last year. So these are the sources that pays for debt service and other items that come into the general fund budget. And then here we are with all the budgets, and it's broken out by category. And I know I'm going through this slide, this stuff quickly, because there's 72 pages here. This is the same as the budget order, just has the breakout of salaries and expenses for each department in total. And then on each of these continuing slides, we have 24 and 25. So I know there's not a column that says how much more, but I do have a breakout of that, which is, I'm gonna bring it in, and I can certainly send it and share it with everyone.
Can you please?
Yes, definitely. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my screen, it's frozen. Hold on. Top of the document shows the money and change. Oh, my screen's frozen. Hold on. One more time. Sorry.
Madam Chair, while she's trying to do that, should we maybe discuss a date or two here in the near future?
Absolutely, Nate. I was just thinking about that. So folks, given the urgency of the matter and the amount of time that we are going to have with which to discuss and take on all of this, my desire would be to have a meeting next Monday, probably at 7, if that is open for everybody. I am also available on Tuesday. I don't know what other folks would be amenable to that as well. If we need to have 2 meetings in 1 week, that's something we could do if there was an appetite for it. We also can meet on Monday, May 6th as well. But again, since, we want to get this resolved and have the ability to have officials talk to us about this so that we can make an informed decision. I would say the 29th is our best chance. The 30th is another date that we can use, and May 6th is another one. We can also try for May 1st if that was something that would be agreeable, but I'm not sure of Josh's availability for the 1st.
I would say the 29th or 30th, Madam Chair, I could do either one. Other member of the committee's thoughts, I guess.
I could do the 29th.
I can do the 29th as well.
Meet the 29th.
I can do the 29th.
The 29th works for me.
Excellent. So it sounds like we have a majority of members who can meet on the 29th then. If that is okay with everyone, I will ask Josh to schedule the meeting for Monday, the 29th, to have discussion with the town manager, Laurie to be in attendance as well, to help him out with stuff, to discuss the budget items and budget orders that are before us this evening. And our start time would be, are we okay with starting at 7 p.m. or do we want to start a little bit earlier?
Seven works. I could do a little bit earlier, but we seem to have a good crowd here at 7.
Members, if you want, we can start it a little bit earlier. Nate is able to attend. I'm totally fine with as early as we want to go and as late as we want to go. I have a pretty open schedule on Monday, so I'm okay with 7. I'm okay with 6:30. If we wanted to start at 6, some of this stuff could go a long while, if, with newer members who may be more curious about what goes into these things. I mean, this is sort of where the sausage gets made, where the cake is baked, as it were.
I suggest an earlier start.
Yeah.
6:30 works.
You made a good point there, Madam Chair, about the longevity. So yeah, an earlier start probably would be better.
Okay. So, if folks are okay with it, I would be open to 6:30. Or if we want, we can go 6.
I can do either or, Madam Chair.
Okay.
As can I.
Yeah, I can do 6 too.
Excellent. So Josh, let's try for Monday, the 29th at 6 p.m. and then have the items that are on the agenda of new business this evening be put on the agenda for next Monday.
Okay.
And that would be inclusive of the orders FY 25001, 25002, 003, 004, 005, and 006.
So Madam Chair, you're continuing those items.
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. Right, Josh, we want to continue. We don't want to table.
Correct.
I've learned that lesson.
As have I in many cases.
All right, so it sounds like we have a plan. We've continued those things, Madam Chair. Good.
Mm-hmm. So at this point,
I have a question on that. Are we having the meeting whether Mr. Dutton can make it or not?
that's a good question, Julie.
Just out of curiosity, like, should we
I would
have a backup plan in case he's not available on that day to have
I
a,
would say if things would work out the right way, if Mr. Dutton cannot make it, I would say I would want to have Ms. Garini, but also perhaps Ms. Williams, since the assistant town manager, usually by virtue of the fact that they're the assistant to the town manager, they usually are the designee to oversee stuff that a town manager may not be able to do or be present for. So if we can't get Michael Dutton to be there, Kimberly Williams would probably be the next person in line with which to sit and converse with us.
okay.
So, Josh, if you can make a note of that, for invitees, if Mr. Dutton cannot make it, extend the invitation to Mrs. Williams to attend in his stead.
Sure thing.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Just also, if you're not ready to go over anything tonight, I can have Josh send out the packet again. And if everyone wants to review it and if they have any questions, if they can have them ready for us or ahead of time.
My impression is tonight that folks would probably be appreciative of that. And Josh, if you could resend that out to everyone just in case. I know I got it. I read through a little bit of it. For me, being a policy wonk, it's already pretty much straightforward for me, but I know my colleagues, some of them are fairly new and rookies at this, so I would want them to have the information. So if you could resend that out to them. I would say, folks, if you do have any questions tonight, if it's okay, we can probably just put those out into the universe and we can have those there as questions that we can ask at a later time. It basically give our guests for next meeting something to at least focus on, or at least be able to build their discussion with us around. It usually helps to have a glancing idea. Think of it as a pre-exam question. Have the student, as it were, put the question out there and have the teacher answer it for us, as it were back then. So I would say if we have anything to talk about or want to make note of, we can share it with Laurie, we can share it with Josh, and we can have that sent through me to them, to the town manager.
Yep. And I would suggest at this point, Madam Chair, if I may, is, since we've continued the items, I don't know if we want to really have any more discussion on them this evening. Is my feeling on it, but like you said, everybody should, we send that package out, and like you said, I've been on this committee 10 years. It's kind of, I've seen it. I've been there, done that, so to speak. It all kind of fits into place for me. But I know that's not the case for everybody.
I would second that, Madam Chair. It's probably best for folks, including myself, to just go back, digest it, also look at the comparable data that Laurie sent to us from last year, and then generate our questions from there.
Yep. And I'm totally in agreement with that, Ray. So I would say to folks, as a last bit of this before we move on to our final item of the night, which would be adjourned for the evening, I would say to everyone, to our newer members, read through the material. If something strikes you as unusual, or you don't understand it, feel free to ask the question. Send the question to Josh. The question would likely be answered for us next Monday. In this type of process, questions help us inform our direction. And when we have that knowledge, we can move forward. So for our new members, ask your questions, read through everything. And if something strikes you as, I don't understand what this is, can you tell me what this is? We'll have that answer by next week. So for those of us who are more veteran of it, we're looking to you folks to maybe think of something that maybe we haven't in our years of experience, and perhaps jadedness or rose-colored glasses, whichever they may be. So we can go with that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I look forward to those things.
I appreciate the opportunity. I will have questions.
Excellent. Excellent.
Can I just say one more thing too?
Sure thing.
I think that the budget and finance subcommittee of the council, I think that was their last meeting as well. So I think that's kind of why they did talk about the budget. But there'll be new councils on board, and they won't even have a committee, I don't think, a subcommittee, until probably after the hearing. So that might be why.
Typically the case, because the election's the same time every year, right?
What's that?
I said,
It's
isn't
usually
that
the last Saturday in April.
right? So I mean, it doesn't. I understand what you're saying, but I feel like that would happen every year at this time.
Right.
We're typically voting in May,
Yeah.
and they're still waiting on us.
Well, the
So I
budget
would
and
stop.
subcommittee, the finance I call it the finance, it's the budget, the finance and some.
The finance
Also,
subcommittee,
yeah.
right. 2 out of 3 are
They,
returning. I
they've been the
understand
same.
that.
Yeah, Sean and George have been there for years, so I think, you know, they're stepping down, and so it will be a totally new committee of that level too, so maybe I'm just, putting that out there. I don't think it was any intent to fast track anything. I think they were trying to just get through it before the election.
That makes sense.
So that all being said, folks, we can move on to item F, additional items for discussion. If there's anything the committee has to offer up or volunteer that would be germane to our business tonight, feel free to speak if you have anything.
No.
I don't see anything from anyone. So I do have at least one thing myself. I am very happy that folks were able to attend tonight, that we have a full quorum as best we can. I would like to see this happen more just because of the importance of our business and the work that we endeavor upon as a finance committee, not only because we're required by the charter to do so, but because each of us has taken on the responsibility to serve our fellow residents and members of the community as, you know, a fiduciary body that has responsibility to oversee things that are both financial and budgetary in their nature. I'm hoping members can take that to heart and know that we not only appreciate the work that everybody's doing, and I'm grateful for working with all of you. Having been the secretary for many years myself, and now being a member, I really appreciate the team that we have. And, you know, for those whose terms may be coming to an end, I hope that maybe you'll sign back on. For those that don't, I want to say it's been an education, and I'm glad that we've had this opportunity to work together. And, you know, your loss of your knowledge to our group will certainly be felt. We will hopefully be able to carry on. And hopefully we will have other folks step up to the plate and put in the same work and dedication that, for those that may not be returning in the next fiscal year, also put forward. But for the time being, I am happy to say that I am proud of, as your vice chair, to be on this committee, proud to be working with all of you. And I hope that we can keep a quorum going forward, at least through the end of the fiscal year, so we can take care of all the remaining business that goes till June 30th, so that when midnight on July 1st rolls around, we can all say happy fiscal new year. So I don't have anything else other than that to say. So if
How
anybody
about
else.
vote on Saturday? Don't forget to vote, everybody. We
Oh,
actually have
that's right.
contested
Vote on
races in
Saturday.
Bridgewater.
That is important. Democracy does need to be operated upon. So exercise your right as a citizen of the Commonwealth and the town of Bridgewater, and take care of your democratically constitutional right. So if there is anything else, or if there isn't, we'll move on to item G on the agenda, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I hear a motion to adjourn from Rig and a second from Mr. Bean, with a secondary second from Ms. Claparis. So it seems to be a unanimous at this point. Josh, if you'd be so kind as to take a roll call, but before we do, just remember, Monday evening, 6:30 p.m. Is that what we're going for?
I think we went with 6,
Six.
didn't we?
6 p.m. Monday, April 29th. Be here or be square. So with that, Josh, please take the roll call.
Nate,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Jim. Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting's adjourned.
Alrighty,
Take
folks. We'll
care.
see you next
Thank you,
Monday.
everyone.